さんなんだ。だからお願い。お父さんを傷つけないで。
What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're going to be having a look at the brand new super evolution that just debuted with the recent Kizuna clash, being Jewelry Bonney. Now, Jewelry Bonney with her recent super evolution kind of changes things up from her normal version. Beforehand, she was a int fighter free spirit, and she was basically just solely focused on boosting int characters. And now with her super evolution, she has kind of shifted and is now focusing on boosting not only int but also cerebral, which is a good tie-in with the release of the whole Vegapunk stuff with Egghead. So in this video, we're going to just show her using her in a couple of different pieces of content. One as a sub, two of them as captains. You know, the gameplay itself is whatever, really, but I'm just here to talk about this unit, give my thoughts and opinions. So let's just start talking about this character's captain effect. The captain effect of this unit, in my opinion, isn't that great. Like, you're not really going to be using this character as a captain. We'll talk more about that in a moment when we get to her special. But the captain ability itself, it gives a boost to int and cerebral, 5.5 attack with a recovery or a tandem slot, 5 times otherwise, and then everyone else still gets a 4.25 times attack, and then 1.2 HP to the crew. It makes recovery and tandem slots beneficial, and if you tap with super effective damage, then the character that tapped will get a recovery slot at the start of the next turn. I've always liked those types of effect that can just always generate matching slots as long as you hit with type advantage. But, you know, the fact that she doesn't have any utility in her captain is a real issue when you have a look at her special ability, because it just makes things a little wonky to use her. You see in this content, I'm actually using lore to switch Bonney to a sub so that I can abuse her crewmate ability and her special effectively. But let's have a look at what happens if you use her as a captain with her super type effect. So in order to use the super type, you need to have one of the supernova characters on your crew, but also Sabo, Kuma, and Vegapunk are all characters that are now activatable requirements for the super type. The effect itself is actually pretty good. It changes all slots including block into recovery, locks your slots for 1 turn, and reduces the fear duration by 5 turns, and reduces this character's own special charge time by 2 turns, as well as giving int characters super int. So this character does a lot when you use her as a captain with that super type effect. So as we kind of touched upon, the captain ability doesn't have a lot of utility, but like they really gave a lot to this super type. Full board of recovery slots with a lock is very good. The reduction of fear is kind of nice, a little bit of a niche situation because fear isn't a very common debuff that you'll be running into. But the fact that she can also reduce her own cooldown by 2 turns is very key with her special, which can also give minus 2 turns of cooldown to everyone. It is a little bit of a shame though that the super type doesn't remove special bind on herself. I think if it had that, this would be a much more viable character to be using in the captain position, but due to the fact that special bind that can occur, it really can kind of just ruin the character overall when you use her as a captain, that is, then I feel like this character will most likely be relegated to a crewmate in most scenarios. So I guess with all of that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the special, because the special ability does do a lot of different things. So first of which, it will remove slot bind and special bind both by 10 turns. So that's already a very good start, removing a lot of those debuffs there. Slot bind is a very niche debuff. Once again, you don't really encounter that often, but removing 10 turns of special bind is incredibly good. And then it also gives 2 turns of cooldown reduction to the whole crew, which is what I was talking about a bit earlier. If you use her as a captain, that super type to give herself cooldown, that ties in very well. But the fact that as a captain, she doesn't remove her own special bind means that if you get it, you know, special binded when this character is the captain, you just straight up can't remove it. Unless if you find some way to make her a crewmate for a very brief period of time. Otherwise, this character is just kind of useless. So that really hurts the character overall. Now, it does go on to say that it will go ahead and set enemies' defense to 0 for 2 turns, so long as that you have consumed 8 or more recovery slots before you launch the special. So that's a very unique ability that this character gets access to. Removing enemies' defense to 0 that can go through full immunity is incredibly valuable, so long as you can partner that up with like a conditional booster, for example. I mean, if you are using Vegapunk, the new Legend Vegapunk, does have the capabilities of providing you with a conditional boost, so you could go ahead and tie that in with that character. And consuming 8 or more recovery slots in order to get that is pretty difficult if you use Bonney as a crewmate. However, if you do opt to use Bonney as a captain, the fact that her super type, which can not only give you the recovery slots and lock them, so you can just generate these recovery slots and keep consuming them, but also with her captain ability being able to state that if you attack with super effective damage, you just straight up get recovery slots back. So it's a really nice way to charge that. So as a captain, it's easy to achieve. As a crewmate, probably not so much. Furthermore, it does go ahead and change empty, block, and unfavorable slots into recovery, so that's really good as a crewmate too. And it also grants cerebral characters a 2.5 color affinity boost for 2 turns, so great color affinity boost there, and that has changed drastically from her 6-star form. The 6-star form before evolution, she was an int attack booster. Now she has shifted to become a cerebral color affinity unit. So it's actually kind of viable to save 2 different copies of Bonney, one for her 6-star plus, and one for her base 6-star form. Now, her special continues on, and it provides even more to your crew, as for 2 turns, it gives you a chain boundary effect. Now, the chain boundary effect is variable, based on the amount of recovery slots that you have consumed before you launch the special. So, it's actually pretty nice because it can still get you like a 3.25 chain boundary at a bare minimum, but it can scale all the way up to really high levels. I think it's like a 3.5 or a 3.75 chain boundary based on the number of recovery slots that you've actually consumed before launching that special. So you can see how this character is trying to be used. You want to try and consume as many of these recovery slots before launching the special. You can get the most out of her, providing cooldown reduction, defense down, slot change, color affinity, chain boundary effects going on. Like, there's a lot to break down here with Bonney. She does do a lot of different things. And the cool thing with Bonney is that she has really good synergy with some of the other great int cerebral focused characters in the game. You do see a little bit of a constant through all of these different clips here. I think just about in every clip I'm using Corazon and Law, because not only is Law a great character, being a character that triggers the super type of Bonney, but just the effects of what Cora and Law do are really good and synergize great with this crew. Despite the fact that, you know, you've got Cora and Law which have this ability to generate these empty slots, and you don't really want to do that with Bonney all that often, just the effects that Cora and Law have are just really good. And then also the fact that you could potentially use Cora and Law as the captain and then Bonney as the sub. You could definitely do that. And then Cora and Law have the effect of removing 10 turns of despair as a captain. You've got Uta that you could potentially use, dealing with special reverse and paralysis, and also providing massive attack and orb boost. Bonney provides you with a color affinity boost for your cerebral units, so that's a great synergy. Vegapunk just released. He can provide you just about whatever buff you need for whatever the situation is required for, and then, you know, you've got Vegapunk's captain effect, which resists 10 turns of paralysis, 10 turns of bind. So you've got all of these really cool key int cerebral characters that Bonney can kind of squeeze into to make really interesting team comps with. And I think that's going to really be the main use point of this unit, is that she is going to be a really good crewmate to remove special bind. She deals with special reverse because she resists special bind and special reverse on herself, whilst also providing the ability to give cooldown reduction and special bind removal. So there, that combo is very rare, of removing special bind and special reverse, and by 2 turns of special reverse, that is. It's a very rare combination. This character provides that whilst also giving you great offensive capabilities. So while we always like new characters to be great captains to kind of show off the team, Bonney in this case is just a great crewmate, and she's going to be a great unit to use under a lot of other powerful int cerebral focused characters. And I mean, we say int cerebral because, you know, Bonney herself being int, but just any cerebral team she's going to be really good for. And even if you're not using a cerebral team at all, despite the fact that her color affinity boost from her special is only boosting cerebral units, you can still use her on whatever team you want to grant great abilities of cooldown reduction and special bind removal, but also that chain boundary, which will also benefit your team straight up. The only thing that wouldn't benefit is just that color affinity boost. So I think Bonney is going to be a great character moving forward into the future. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about Bonney down below in the comment section. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
さんなんだ。だからお願い、お父さんを傷つけないで。